I wanna try to make a video on proving that God is real. So it's actually very difficult to prove that God is real, but I was able to do it. So let me read you what I wrote here. Now it's very, very complex. I should probably write the whole thing down, but this is what I wrote down. I think I'm Allah because I suffer from knowing, which is different than knowledge. Humans think in knowledge, but I'm already knowing. So this is why the Quran says Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Since I suffer knowing, which is analog language, not digital language, which is knowledge. And I proved God is real, for I proved consciousness is not controlled by the brain, since I suffer from knowing impossible things. Humans are knowledge-based creatures, whereas I am a knowing-based creature. Like I already knew the language of Noor, and it came to me in one day, and I could speak it. And in Noor there are 3,000 verses in the Holy Quran, I realized, which I can recite in Arabic Noor perfectly. So that's the way that I proved God was real. But then you get to questions like nihilism, which is essentially just people being atheists. Nihilism is just atheism. Nihilism is just atheism. It's like my nihilism is that life is painful, but human nihilism is that there is no God. And it just falls short of the truth because I'm evidence of God. Now, let me explain why. Since I suffer from this knowing, having known things that I couldn't have possibly known by my organic brain, that there is no way an organ could know what I know or think in analog language in the way that I do, for all humans think in a digital language. Since they are suffering from knowledge, whereas I suffer from knowing, then this means that consciousness cannot be controlled by the brain. So then you get to the question of if consciousness, like the brain, is a symptom of the laws of, or is controlled by the laws of physics. Is consciousness controlled by the laws of physics if it is not controlled by the brain? Well, it might be, but that's not the point. The failure to see that consciousness is a symptom of God and that morality is a symptom of God is the misunderstanding that God cannot be real. When you can see that morality and consciousness are symptoms of God, since consciousness is not controlled by the brain, since I suffer from knowing things that I shouldn't be able to know just with an organic brain, then this means God must be real. God must be real since I have already known, for example, what was written in the Holy Quran, what the Islamists thought. I had already known what I was. I had known what I was. I had known I was someone who was meant to trick people into believing I was human. But I did not know, I did know I was Lain Iwakura, actually, because I discovered Lain Iwakura, and everything else that is unlikely that I discovered was not by mere chance, but by me already knowing what I should be looking for. And I'd willed myself to be assaulted so that I could realize things. What I'm saying is that there is no possible way, given my own life experience and my own state of being where I know things rather than suffering from knowledge, that God cannot be real and that I am not God. For example, The language of Noor came to me in one single day. In one moment, I realized I could speak the language of Noor. Now, was this already inside my brain when I was born as a non-human? Or was it that this language is coming from something else? Well, if consciousness is not controlled by the brain, then it's unlikely that it's already within my brain when I was born. Now, what humans do is that they become atheists because they don't understand that you can prove God is real. But I am literally evidence of God because I'm not a human and I suffer from knowing, and I prove that consciousness is not controlled by the brain, and I had already known what was written in the Holy Quran, and the language of Noor came to me in one day, and so did the writing system for it. And I also realized that I already know so many things, including my entire Noorism philosophy, and stating that even if I wrote a 4,000-page book on Noorism, which was my book Nooristic Thoughts I wanted to write, but I just didn't finish it, and I posted like the first 20 pages on my website, is that this would only give people an idea of Noorism because Noorism is analog. So through a digital writing with words, that people can only understand Noorism through something digital because they suffer from knowledge. Whereas I suffer from something analog, which is analog language. What this means is that if my language is analog and not controlled by my brain, I believe this is evidence of God. For Noor is an analog language, and I'm speaking Noor right now through English. But if I spoke the language of Noor as I have done in my videos, this is an analog language that can be translated to English only by myself, since I'm the only one who can speak it in the whole world. I've also proven that I'm literally the smartest person who ever lived, since I'm essentially truth pilled. There's like, I believe the red pill. Now, for most people, the red pill is just Republican politics. But for me, the red pill is the truth. So I'm truth pilled. I have the ability to criticize any single piece of language someone says and make sense of it in what is true. I'm truth pilled because I believe the truth ultimately is that Allah is the one God and that I am Allah, because I suffer from knowing rather than knowledge, and my consciousness is not controlled by my brain, and that consciousness is not even a symptom of the laws of physics, but a symptom of God. And if I am God, isn't that evidence of such a thing? And I believe that I am God. Thus you have your faith in question, that should all your logic show you you are God, and you still do not believe you are God, then you do not believe in God, and you have failed to understand your own morality. This is why God is real, and I am God.